Hello, everyone. Well, I just got back from work, and I've been thinking about this thing. I've been thinking about um, this dance about music, precision, and it's just jam packed. I mean, with precision, you had to. There's so many things into it. Let me see this message. Okay, so what I decided is I don't have that much time. So the time that I spend figuring out the YouTubes, I kind of like compress it in my day, and I'm going to spill these YouTubes out because it's so much information. Okay, so remember we have so many. You have to go back. You have to understand the vocabulary and everything because now with precision, you don't have time to think about. What does this mean, or what does that mean, or what does this mean, or what does that mean? Okay. So I'm going to do the dance right now. We're getting into the precision, the exactness, everything, being specific on everything. I'm going to show you what I came up with. I didn't practice that much. Like I said, I have to do it to where that I have to compress my time that I organize these things and then spill them out when I get it because there's a lot of information and it's going to go real fast. This is for viewing. I don't think anyone's going to be there. Like I said, don't want holes. You want to start from the beginning. I can't. And now it's going to be hard for me to explain vocabulary. Vocabulary is very important in the language that we've developed during this thing. So I did this first part of the Michael Jackson Thriller. I explained why I use him and everything in my former videos. So you have to go back. And another thing too I wanted to mention is that I always go back. I always go back. When you learn something new, you have to start all the way back and refresh everything. So that's another good reason that should give you the how can I say will help you to realize that you have to start from the beginning because like when I learn something new I have to go all the way back and recover and go over everything and fix things that I had in the beginning, and that's what I did here too. So we're going to get into the dance. We're going to do the first part of the dance and we're going to keep going. I think these videos are going to be put out at least, should be like once a week now because there's a lot into it. Okay, I'm going to do it. First of all, I wanted to remember this. Remember this because we're going to bring the powers together. Remember what the powers are, and remember force. Force is force, speed, direction. Remember we said when you go back, you'll see force, speed, direction. We just don't say force, but we captivate or we notice or one is more recognizable than the other. Sometimes speed is more recognized, sometimes direction is more recognized. And the powers are coming together now. I explained to you what the powers were in the last video that I just did on precision, the update. Now remember when we did this, when I did this and I said we caught this is the force, okay? So this is one term I have to clear. I mean, I clear up, but it's being developed more. And when I did this in the last video, I said, and I caught the force. And remember, this is a force, but we also have another force. So force, there's different forces that come together. There's a force that the weight, remember, everything is going down. It's going to go down. That's a force. And I caught the force, and I have another force in my hand. And what force is that? The force would be pressure. I'm putting pressure, not that much pressure, but I'm putting pressure on the ball, and the ball has pressure, and the ball has pressure also. So the ball has force because it wants to go, it doesn't want to go down because I got it, but it's in a situation. So we have the force, the force of the ball, and I have the force in my hand. Two different types of force, so the forces are coming together. Also, I explained before, sometimes when forces come together, it causes pain, but that's a big deal. That's from another video also. So I'm going to let this pressure go, and the ball. Look, so I just need to tell you this. Now we're going to get into the dance. The first part. I told you about this dance, and we're going to do it in sections, okay? And the way I did this first part, I did it so that I can go back again and do it over and over and over again. That's the way I did this one. And so let me see if there's anything else. We're just going to get into it. And I'm going to keep doing it over, but I'm going to explain it out what happens, okay? Because this is special. Okay, so that's what we have. Okay, so that's what we have, and so now I have to explain some things that happened. Okay, um, on this one we already know. Okay, we have when we do this right here, we already know because it's just slow. The steps slow. The apparatus, it's definitely an apparatus because we use it when we're walking and everything like that. So what we're doing is, the major thing that we have to think about is the control. The control takes care of, as far as the force is concerned, the control takes care of the speed this time. But there's another point that I wanted to make. Remember hydrogen X. Hydrogen X is the energy that's produced, and I explained it in the last one. But since it's a dance, we can't say hydrogen 1 because it doesn't go along with the language of dance. So we're going to call hydrogen 1 time. So remember, it's a force. The hydrogen 1 produces an energy, which is a force. It's a power, and it's a certain kind of force, okay? So, and force is force, speed, direction. It's the same thing, like I said. Well, you'll see, don't worry about breaking apart or whatever. You have to understand it. Force, speed, direction, okay? So, because I'm losing this point, so I'm going to keep going. So we have the force, okay, the force I have to do, okay, and then we have the control is what I'm trying to say. So force, speed, and now we have to use, in order to do the direction, I'm not going to talk about control yet, so that's going to confuse you. We're still going to talk about, oh, we were talking about hydrogen X. So we're going to say time, okay? So instead of saying hydrogen X, we're going to say time. So time is the force. Force, speed, direction, but we're expounding on where the time is the most visual, although they all go together. And as you go along, you'll see the picture of it. So I'm not going to say hydrogen X. I'm going to say time because it's dance. So I'm going to show you the first part like we did. And it's slow. Okay. Now what I did also, what I wanted to tell you is it's time that we're using, but the control, which I explained in the last one, is making the direction. Okay. So the time, I just have to say that. Just keep it in your mind. Don't worry about it. It clears itself up. So this one is the apparatus for this one, and I'm going to do the force on this one. And then, okay, now, another thing. One thing that is called for exactness and precision is the fact that I move my head. There's other things that move also. It has to be really natural. We haven't gotten up here yet, but when you do it, you don't want to just move your head, okay? Because you don't, until you get the understanding of how to do it. Like I did this and I also moved this. Remember, we're in the precision, so we have to be precise on things. So it's not just a dance, it helps you with everything. You don't want to do things the wrong way. If I just moved my head just because of the dance and I didn't feel that, and I just for the dance sake, you can't do that because it's connected to other things. You don't understand it totally yet. So it's wise if you move other things, okay, until you know exactly what's going on there, okay? So I felt it to move other things. I'll show you again. And not just that, I think it puts more energy into the dance, and it looks better, okay? And there's a lot of times when dancers do things that they have to pay for later on. You have to really know exactly what you're doing. That's another good reason why we have this, because you have to be more precise. Not just that, but everybody is able to look the same way if we continue this process, okay? So we did that. I talked a little bit about that. Remember, you have the force, and it comes, okay, remember the hydrogen X is time now. So every time you see, it's like a clock ticking. We just look at the time, but we never realize that it's movements. There's something moving in the clock all the time. So that's time. So that's also energy. So what we're doing, I don't know what kind of energy, there's different kinds of energy that they use for different watches. So now when you make a move, you only have a certain amount of time to do that because you only have a certain amount of hydrogen X to fulfill each step that you do into the dance. Okay? So I'm going to do it just one more time, just this section. Okay, so we got that part. Now the next part I know another thing about transitions when I talked to you in the beginning, you want to make your transitions as best as possible. Sometimes when you're dancing, someone might jump to another thing or jump to another thing. The best thing to do right there is what I'm going to show you is to show you a transition, and it helps the eye and it helps I think it helps to dance also. And so I put in transition because we're also being precise, and you're moving energy, you're moving forces, you're moving weight, and that's another thing. Like I said, it's so packed with information. That's why I have to put these videos out more, because I can't let go of so much. I can let go. I can't put so much into the video. I have to put, as I get it, I'll bring out the video, and I always do that, and then I forget about what, and then I lose my point. So, okay, we're going anyway. I was going to the next part. Oh, the transition. So now we have the transition. So what I did in would help you also when you're doing a dance, and then all of a sudden you go from okay, and then all of a sudden they jump, okay. To me, that's not really good, okay. That's not part of the dance, because they're saying they're really not doing a good transition. So what I did in the beginning was I went like this, okay, and then 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I did is I showed you what I did. I just didn't just go through the transition, okay. It's kind of painful, I mean, as far as watching, to me, okay. So it's like I go from here, and then I show you what I'm doing. Okay, so let's do that part, and then I'll tell you about something else. So here I am right now, and then I'm going to go through the transition, but I'm showing you the transition. I'm just not jumping into the transition. Okay, so 1. Okay, so I showed you how I went into the transition, which is very important because you're doing something and you want to show how you got there. I think it's more interesting, but we can do it the other way. Anyway, we're going to go to the next step. The next step is, remember this, okay? I had to figure this out. Shaking is just shaking, that's all. It looks like it's something which is good. It looks like it's something just totally different. But if you think about it, it took me a while to figure it out, that it's shaking. We shake, and when I was younger, I couldn't shake. I couldn't, when we used to do this in gym, it would hurt because I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? That's another thing that dance without music is good for, because it tells you what's happening. It doesn't just say do this. It's telling you what's happening with the forces here, what's happening, So we're in quadrant, in between quadrant, and I'm going to shake. Okay, so the only thing I'm doing, I call it favoring. If I'm in between, and all this is things that we did before, all the vocabulary. I'm in between. This is the in between quadrant. Okay, and I'm gonna go like, and whenever we go like this, we're still in the in between quadrant. Okay, if we got just in between quadrant, you can feel it. Then I'm not, if I go like this, I'm not in the in between quadrant. I'm in the natural quadrant. But I can also be like this, and I'm in the natural quadrant also. But what I'm saying is like the shaking, we were talking about the shaking. So I'm in between quadrant, and I call this favoring. If I go like this, it's called favoring the other. Favoring the natural quadrant. And I call this favoring the other, or you can just say favoring the natural, favoring the other. Okay? So when we're shaking, but we're staying in the in between. So we shake. Okay? But we're in the in between quadrant because both of them are balancing me. Okay? Balancing the upper. So this is shaking. Okay? Now, we have to realize even shaking, that's shaking, and we have to realize shaking. So you see shaking We also have fast, slow, and then remember fast. I told you so much information and precision. Remember fast, slow, and then the fastest. Like we go fast, we go slow, and then there's a rhythm. Well, in shaking, it's pretty much this is slow, okay? Okay, and we're shaking, we're still shaking. Remember the hula hoop, okay? And the hula hoop would be more like this, but it's still shaking, okay? The next thing from shaking would be, how can I say? It would be more of a vibration, okay? I didn't know vibrate. It was shaking. No, I had something in between. I'll try and figure out later. But I put shaking first, and then I had something, and then the last one, the fastest. Remember, we're like fast, slow, and then rhythm. The last one was vibration. So we have shaking. Oh, I know what it is. We have slow, shaking slow, and then we have a faster shaking. The next one would be vibration. I haven't figured out how to do that one yet and show you. So that's something else. So I'm doing shaking. Okay, remember that we're shaking. I just want to show you some shaking. And the reason why I'm telling you this because the different things that we learn in the different parts of the dances we can use somewhere else. It's like we're using the alphabet. We're making all these things into um, components that we can use in other things. If you just learn one dance, you can't use. You can say, "Why don't we pull this out? Or why don't we pull that out?" Okay. So I'm going to show you something. I can say it's a trick because nobody thinks of this as shaking. A lot of things they think maybe they think this is shaking, but nobody thinks of this as shaking. But it is shaking. But you can't really see it, like I said, until you go like this. Okay, so that's shaking. Now let me show you something else. You know this is shaking also. And we know this is shaking also. But we can also shake this. That's shaking. That's shaking. This is, of course, you know this is shaking. But we also can shake here. This is shaking. And this is shaking. Okay. This is shaking. And this is shaking. Oh, I got it. Okay. Shaking and shaking. So those are components that we can use in other things. So also the reason why I didn't we had to do the shaking, but I pretty much did it slow, I think, because another thing too, usually when I learn something, I make sure I understand the concept. Because you can do slow shaking and then fast shaking. But you gotta remember that there's a power. There's hydrogen X, very powerful. And it can you ever stub your toe or hit yourself with a hammer or even clap too loud or clap too much and your hands hurt? That's what you call hydrogen X, and it's it can be very damaging. So you have to be careful. So that's why I had to practice this first. But not just practice it, don't say practice, I don't want to say practice. I had to figure out what it was. Because I was doing it and then you go, wait, it's affecting I gotta do it slow first and then I can do it the fast one, but remember it goes the thing with shaking, it goes fast, it goes slow and then fast. So but when you do it slow, you ask for a certain amount of time. Remember, we're saying time. We know what time is now. And we're not saying hydrogen X, we're saying time. It's a certain amount of time, okay? But if we do it faster, it's more time. It's more power. Remember, um, these things are power now. Force is power. All these things that we're talking about are called powers, okay? They're different kinds of powers. So we know that when we do it slow, it's we're asking for or we're getting or we're making a certain amount of power, okay? We're making a certain amount of power. But if we do it fast, some more things are going to move and we have to make sure that we can handle what's coming next because everything changes. Because when I'm just shaking like this, you know, a certain amount I can handle because because I pretty much do it all the time, but it's good practice because it can help you just do regular things. But if you do it fast, you need more hydrogen X, you need more time, I'm calling it, okay, in a dance. So, and you don't know, and you have to fulfill that speed in using whatever it takes. And that's another thing. So make sure I'm making sure when I do something, I understand what happens, okay? So we're going to the next one. We did that one. Then they go something like this, okay? And like this, okay? Now that one is the control. That one, I can't say. There's one word I like to use. One word I like to use. It as far as force, speed, time, force, speed, direction. Force, speed, direction. On this one, the control, which is a direction, is highlighted. That's what it is. Let me keep that. Okay, this is highlighted. So on this one, the direction is highlighted because I'm going like this and I'm doing the last shake, and then I'm taking the control from here to there. So what I'm doing is I'm actually going from the other, I'm jumping from the other coordinate into the natural coordinate. So I'm going to do it. Okay, so let me do the shake and see which foot it lies on. So dun, 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 dun. So it's on the other. I'm on the other. But now I'm going to jump to the natural and then back to the other, okay? The control, I'm jumping, okay? Okay. No, actually, I jumped, let me see. Okay, so I jumped, so let me see what I did, okay? So I'm on this one, and I'm going to take the control from the other to the natural. And then it's on the natural. And then I'm going to, let me see. Then I go like that. Okay. So then what I do is it's like playing, okay? So I went from the natural to, I went from here, okay, I was on the natural, on the other, and I switched to the natural, okay? So I'm on the other with the shake, and then I jumped, or I took the control, and I loaded it in the natural coordinate, okay? And that's like I said, let's do it one more time. I'm finished shaking, I'm in the other, and I'm just jumping the control. And with the control is going to bring the weight. So that's two forces. So you have the time, and you have the time that's going to go jump, and it's going to bring the other force. The other force is weight, the pressure, okay? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm taking the control out of here and putting it here. Then I'm staying in the natural. But then I'm going to do it again. What makes it look, and then I go like this, and then I'm going to jump into the natural, jump into the other, and come right back to the natural. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then I did something different. I went back so that I could do it over and over again. Okay, and I'm going to keep doing that so that I can do the dance over and over and over again. So anyway, that's it. Okay, let me see if I finished everything. Okay, for right now, that's a good lesson. Okay, so I hope everybody keeps up with the YouTubes, and I'm going to do it one more time. Then I'm going to close the video. I'm going to try and do it time. And every time we do this, it's going to be better. Definitely. Okay, here we go. And then I'm going to close it. So, dance without music. Mm. Dance without music.